uncapped internet from as little as $500 million a month. Contact us now or find us on Facebook. Whitel, your internet service provider.
Welcome to MyZone online school. My name is Mr. Masia. Let us also say hello to my friend. Today's grade 6 lesson is on natural science. But before we can begin, please let us remember to wear our facial mask, and also let us use our sanitizer. So let us take a few squints in our hands and quickly rub our hands around and in there. Get around your fingers as well. And another important thing to remember is to keep the distance. So let us just stretch our arms on the sides as well as in front to ensure we are not touching each other. Today's lesson is puberty and sexual development. Let us now turn to page 17, where we will look at puberty and sexual development. What are the basic competencies we will encounter during this lesson? You should be able to describe the differences between the reproductive organs of a male and female from given diagrams. You should also be able to explain the role of the basic structures of male and female reproductive organs. Vocabulary. What are the words that we will encounter during this lesson? One of the most important words to know is organ, which refers to a group of tissues working together. Now, this group of tissues can be self-contained, they can be inside the body of the organism, or they can be outside the body of an organism. Examples include the lungs, your heart, and your eyes. The next word is the human reproductive system. It is the system in the human body that reproduces and bears live offspring. In other words, it's responsible for making babies. Let us now turn over to page 18. You should be able to describe the differences between the reproductive organs of a male and a female from given diagrams. So here on page 18, we have two diagrams, one on the left and one on the right, of a male and female. The human reproductive system is so similar, and yet it is very different from each other, but there are a lot of complements to these bodies. Now, if you want to state a difference between the reproductive organs of a male and female from a given diagram, then we have to look at the organs that these body systems in-house. And for most of the male reproductive system, you will find that it is located outside of the man's body. And these external structures are the penis, the scrotum, and the testes. Most of the female's reproductive system is located inside the woman's body. The vulva is the only external organ, and it houses, yes, other organs, but it will be the only one visible from outside. Now, the male reproductive system also produces, maintains, transports, and nourishes sperm cells, and also adds a protective fluid that is going to protect this sperm cell. And this protective fluid, we refer to it as the semen. Now, once the semen has been deposited, Once the semen has been deposited into the female's reproductive system, the female has another responsibility, which is to develop the fertilized egg into a baby. Let us now turn to page 19, where we will look at the female reproductive organs. Remember here that we are expected to describe the role of the basic structures of a male and female reproductive system. Let us turn to the chalkboard so we can discuss this in detail. Now on the chalkboard with me, I have the female reproductive organ. And we are now just going to label it, and afterwards, that is when we will look at the role of these structures. The first one that we have on my left here is the ovary. Now, the ovary is a structure that is both on the left side and also on the right side. That is the ovary. Then from the ovary, we have another structure, which is right here. It is actually a tube that is coming from the ovaries, and it goes all the way to another structure. This structure is known as the fallopian tube. And there are also two sets on this. Another name for the fallopian tube is the oviduct. Another name for the fallopian tube is the oviduct. Do not worry if you cannot see the words very well. You can just turn to your book on page 19 and you will be able to see the structures there. Okay, the next structure we are going to label is right here, and this structure we refer to it as the uterus. Refer to it as the uterus, and from the uterus we have a structure responsible for closing and opening known as the cervix. And from the cervix we have the vagina. Let us turn back to page 19 and look at our clear diagram. Now, on the diagram, you can see the labeled structures of the female reproductive organs. You are expected to be able to identify these structures and label these structures. The role of the basic structures of female reproductive organs. Let us discuss what is it that they do. Let us now look at the role of the basic structures of the female reproductive organs. Right at the bottom of page 19, you have a table that shows us the organ name as well as its role or use. The cervix is responsible for connecting the vagina to the uterus. And the uterus develops a fertilized egg into a baby, while the fallopian tubes or oviduct connects the ovaries to the uterus. And the ovaries produce egg cells and hormones. Let us now turn over to page 20, where on page 20, we will now look in detail at the male reproductive organs. Now, if we turn to the chalkboard, we will find that the male reproductive organ can actually look a little bit complicated when it comes to labeling it or following its structure. You have to have a starting point and an ending point. And for this structure, our starting point will be at the scrotum. Now, the scrotum is part of the external organs that hangs outside the man's body. But inside the scrotum, we have a structure known as the testis. We have the structure known as the testis, and from the testis, we have another structure which is coming from the testis going outwards, and this organ is referred to as the vas deferens. And the vas deferens goes on and connects to another structure, and this structure is referred to as the seminal vessel. And from the seminal vessel, there's another structure where it goes into called the prostate gland. From the prostate gland, there's another tube, and this tube is known as the urethra, and the urethra is in-housed by another structure referred to as the penis. The penis also hangs outside the man's body. Let us now go back to page 20 and look at our diagram there, how it is labeled. Remember I said we start all the way from the bottom, which is at the scrotum, and inside the scrotum we have the testis, and from the testis there is a tube connecting there called the vas deferens, and from the vas deferens we have a structure referred to as the seminal vessel. And from the seminal vessel, we go into a structure known as the prostate gland. And from the prostate gland, we have the urethra, which is in-housed by the penis. Please do not get confused with the urinary bladder. It is not part of the reproductive system. Let us go down to page 20. And on page 20 at the bottom, we have the role of the male reproductive organs. And this table shows on the left side the organ name, and on the right side the function or the use of these organs. To begin with, the scrotum. The scrotum is responsible for temperature control and protects the testes. The testes are responsible to produce sperm cells and hormones. And in order for them to do this, they require an optimal temperature that is provided by the scrotum. And once they have been produced, then the sperm cells and hormones must travel through the vas deferens to the seminal vessel. And the seminal vessel will then produce seminal fluids and nourishment of the sperm cell. So the sperm cell will need nourishment to keep it alive and healthy. And then from there, we have the prostate gland, which is responsible for producing fluids and nourishment, which will further aid the movement of the sperm cells. And all these contents will exit the male's body through the urethra out of the male's body. Let us now turn to page 21. On page 21, we have your activity 1, and here are your instructions to completing this activity. The first thing you need to do is study the diagrams that are provided for you. And once you have studied them in reference to today's lesson, only then can you complete this activity 1. And at number 1, you should describe any two differences between the male and female reproductive organs. So you look at the diagrams and then you describe any two differences between the male and female reproductive organs. And at number 2, You explain the role of the male and female reproductive organs below. A is the ovaries, B, uterus, C, oviduct, D, testis, and E, the prostate gland. Good luck with your studies, everyone. Please remember to sanitize after doing something like I'm currently doing right now. I am sanitizing. And from me and my friend is goodbye.
Hi everyone, I'm Joshi. And make sure to always make a helicopter circle, stretching your arms out and spinning around like me. And make sure you're not touching anyone while doing this. Goodbye!
Get uncapped internet from as little as $500 million a month. Contact us now or find us on Facebook. Whitehall, your internet service provider.
There's more to family than meets the eye. Mom and dad, the kids can pick.
That's my skill.
What to watch or what to see.
It's working.
Family show to watch tonight. From a selection we have for all to see. It's a family frenzy on GoTV this October for all to see.
I can see the party is just getting started.
GoTV. Live it, love it.
I can't wait to make the announcement.
India's Ranthambore Reserve in Rajasthan is home to the rare Bengal tigers. Every year, John Isaac, an Indian-born photographer, travels from New York City to document the lives of these majestic animals.
In the last 10 years, I think my interest has grown tenfold, and I'm very particular about the survival of the tigers.
His goal is to make sure that people everywhere know about the grave danger Bengal tigers face: extinction. John holds seminars and photographic exhibitions from his visits to Ranthambore to raise awareness of the plight of these tigers. He's currently working on a book to document their dilemma due to an increasing human population encroaching on their territory. According to John and wildlife experts, each tiger needs as much as 9 square kilometers to survive, just under 4 square miles. The relationship between tigers and people has always been difficult, but now, with much less territory to roam, tigers often wander into human settlements.
The conflict between the villagers and the tigers has always been there, and then government tries to compensate. If a tiger kills a goat or a cow, they pay a certain amount to the villagers.
In the past, tigers used migration corridors or routes followed by wildlife for travel between summer and winter habitats. Now these pathways have been taken over, by people who use them as living quarters and to reap firewood.
We are trying to work with the communities living around and trying to reduce their forest dependency so that we can conserve this corridor patch for the smooth and easy movement of tigers.
Jamuna Devi, a farmer, lives near one of the migratory corridors. She used to depend on the forest for grazing pastures. Now, thanks to a World Wildlife Fund initiative, Jamuna no longer needs to rely on the forest for her family's survival. The secret? Introducing new alternative crops closer to her home.
गई साल बोया हमने खुद ने और ये तो अभी यही साल बोया ये आया होया कांदा है हम 25 रोज को तो तारीख को तो बोया ही है और रोज में अंतर तो आगा फूलने लगा.
The success of this project has led to even more changes. Jamuna decided to plant fodder for her cattle on her excess land to further preserve the habitat of the tigers. She has also switched to cooking gas so that she doesn't have to collect forest wood for fuel.
जंगल में सब दुनिया ने जाबे छोड़ दिया तो सब दे होगी कोई काम नहीं करा लकड़ी को भी नहीं करा जंगल में जाने से भी परेशान है दुनिया गैस भेज दिया सबन के घर घर में वे सभी सिलेंडर पकड़ते और रुपया को कोई समझते ही नहीं है अब भीतर भरा लावा.
Climate change also has a direct impact on the habitat of tigers.
The last 2 or 3 years, they say, there's been a drought. The rains have not been regular.
Climate change is a serious problem in this country, even it's in the continent. So keeping these forest areas alive and protected is the only solution. This year we have raised a nursery of 10,000 saplings. Forest department have shown their interest. They bought around 2,000-3,000 saplings.
The idea is to plant new trees to replace those lost to severe weather conditions and human activity. Poaching used to be a major threat to Bengal tigers. But thankfully, the number of big cats killed by poachers has plummeted due to measures implemented by law enforcement agencies, resulting in less demand for tiger products. Especially the introduction of camera traps and digital apps, which automatically take photos of moving tigers and suspicious persons moving around in the forest.
Every time I hear something like that, I feel so good, in some ways, some things are working. And so this is what drives me to come and do this. In my lifetime, if the tigers are extinct, I don't know how I'll handle that.
This report was produced by Mary Ferreira for the United Nations.
Hello Namibia, my name is Adora and welcome to a brand new edition of the cool new show called The Ain't Like a Vibe. On this show we get to know who our artists really are behind the scenes and what inspires them, what keeps them going, what makes them tick. What are some of your favorite sounds?
Trap music, hip-hop,
okay.
Hip-hop, Afro dancehall.
We came from a background whereby we were raised by our grannies, so it's not the shameful thing for me to do because we used to sell as a Glemune Haferkoka. We would work from Sambolokasi to Okurianga.
Walla Namibia, this is your boy Tulisan. Don't forget to watch the Ain't Like a Vibe TV show on One Africa Television.
We know the world is a crazy place right now, but don't panic. Take a breath. slow down. Or better yet, stop completely. We'll still be here when everything settles down. In this time of uncertainty, look to nature. She has all the answers, you know. We're not only giving ourselves time to reset, we're giving nature time to restore, revive, restart. We're saving ourselves and we're saving the world. Stay home now, so that we can welcome you to Namibia again soon. Yes, the world's a crazy place right now, but don't despair. Find the joy, cherish hope, breathe. Take a moment, take a few, and someday soon you'll once again be able to stare in wonder at this magnificent view. The world's a crazy place right now, but don't worry, we'll still be here. We'll see you again soon.
Longenye shapa le longene